Look what the cat dragged in. Yeah,
Yeah.
Diamonds Are Forever.
Yeah, Diamonds Are
What?
Forever is a strange film.
Yeah, it's excuse me. It
Does the film give you gives you such a negative reaction?
yeah, it must be allergic. I don't know. There are things about this film I like. There are definitely things about this film I like.
Yeah.
Um, the thing is that this is a very messy corner of the Bond franchise because you've just had Lazenby, and then they decide to Lazenby is not coming back, or however that decision gets taken, and then they decide in their dithering to offer the role once again to Connery, who had already gotten fed up playing the part with You Only Live Twice. So Connery comes back, he does one more film,
Hmm.
and then you get
Well, two more
Roger
films
Moore,
if you count Never Say Never Again.
which we don't. So he does this film, and then he fucks off again. The issue with it is that this is supposed to be a direct sequel to On Her Majesty's Secret Service,
Which
except
it
that
doesn't really.
two main characters are played by different fucking people.
Yeah, but I think the problem is, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to talk about in regards to Lazenby, which I guess we'll get onto when we talk about On Her Majesty's Secret Service, because there is a lot to talk about with that film, and particularly with George Lazenby and his relationship with the character in the movie, and yeah, there's a lot there. But I think with this one, it's a very strange film, and it doesn't really feel like a continuation from what happened at the end of On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and it just it's almost like they just wiped the slate clean. And
Except they don't quite, because at the beginning of this film, he's like on this crazed revenge mission to find Blofeld and kill
yeah,
him.
and they
And
don't make any reference to the fact that he had his wife killed in the last one, and there's no reference to the fact that Blofeld has hair in this film, and he's played by
right,
Charles.
or he doesn't have a neck brace, or he doesn't, like it does feel a little bit, and it's funny because I think they know that this is a problem, and so they basically make, as you say, they don't really make a reference to it for the rest of the film. I think really it's only in the beginning that you get any kind of sense that Bond
Bond.
is on a revenge. Bond is on a revenge mission. Bond is on a revenge mission.
Spectre.
Junior. Um, it's so
Miss you, Junior.
yeah.
Sorry,
Um,
can't help it.
the you know what you say about Sean Connery's hair in this film? It's fake.
Yeah, well, it's a toupee.
Yeah, it's quite an obvious one as well.
Yeah,
I Spectre. I do think that they basically say, okay, we've got a huge Lazenby and Telly Savalas shaped problem here, so we're just going to edge away from it, and we're going to create this new Camp Blofeld for the 70s.
sort of the
But
precursor to the Roger Moore films.
it, yeah, slightly. It's very much its own. It feels very much its own kind of creature. This film. There's a lot of interesting stuff in it. Definitely some pre Roger Moore like signals being sent here. I think the fact that this is a very America heavy film
Hmm.
in terms of its casting, but also in terms of its location, is interesting. And that Live and Let Die also decides to film largely in the States. Um, but the there is it's strange that the Connery films were pretty much tonally exactly the same
Hmm.
until this point, and
Yeah.
this feels like this sort of springs from the ground. I also think On Her Majesty's Secret Service is more similar to the Connery films than it is to this film.
Yeah, it feels tonally the same as the films that came before it, and I think the tone in this film is one that's very strange and one where the comedy doesn't really work. And I think you could really,
Well, it doesn't. I think there are bits that are
yeah, there
funny.
are
Like
bits that
I
work. I think some things work and some things don't. And I think one of the things that doesn't really work is that you could really tell, even though Connery is back in the role and he was paid like $1 million to come back, he does look like he doesn't really want to be there, and he would be rather out in Las Vegas gambling until he needed to be on set, which is what he did. He was like, I filmed, Diamonds Are Forever during the evening, and then I went out and golfed and gambled during the day. I never slept. It was amazing. And
It's not a very good impression, but
No,
yeah.
it wasn't a very good impression. I lost it halfway through, but you get what I.
You do, yeah. You went a little bit. I think I don't know what happened there, but yeah.
But you
Oh,
get what I mean. It just feels like they're just.
it's a hole in one, Mish Money Penny. Yeah, no, I think that the Connery performance in this is just like pretty blank. He also, um, he just doesn't. It's in the beginning they try and make this big like, oh, look who's back, it's Connery,
Yeah.
and he just his face is just like, oh, yeah, here I am,
It just doesn't have
and
the enthusiasm for the role is there, especially when he says, "My name's Bond, James Bond." It's like, "My name's Bond, James Bond. Where's Blofeld?"
yeah, come
Oh,
on, let's get this over with.
yeah.
It's yeah, and I think it's like, okay, fuck, we fucked up. We should have cast. I mean, Roger Moore would have been great for this film.
He
The
would have been
Bond
pretty good,
in this film would have been a perfect first movie for Roger Moore if they could have got him,
definitely.
and I think he would have fit into the universe of Diamonds Are Forever perfectly. It would have been amazing to see him and Charles Gray facing off. Charles Gray as Blofeld. I mean, we love Charles Gray.
Yeah.
He's such a delightful actor to watch in everything. Blofeld isn't exactly menacing though when played by Charles Gray.
No,
Let's be honest.
I think he was menacing as Donald Pleasance in You Only Live Twice, and he was menacing as hell as Telly Savalas in On Her Majesty's Secret Service. In this one, not so much.
And also remember that we've been going right back to 1963 with From Russia with Love with Blofeld as a character. Like talk about menace. Like we didn't
Yeah.
even see his face the first two
Films.
times he appeared
Yeah.
in From Russia with Love and in Thunderball, and the cat and everything else. And then by the time this film comes along, you've got a Blofeld who's so defanged and so unscary that he at one point dresses as a woman and has that amazing line where he goes, "Look what the cat dragged in," and
That's a good
and
impression.
it is what.
I said that's a good impression of him.
Oh well, and it is so funny because it's the Charles Gray that we will see in Rocky Horror Picture Show, really, that's playing Blofeld in the song, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it is an interesting choice.
But he was
And it
very,
is, I think,
he was very good as Henderson in You Only Live Twice.
yeah, well, that was one of the great like little Bond cameos. He's also great in a film called Night of the Generals, which I can heartily recommend.
Oh, the Peter O'Toole movie. I haven't seen that. I
Yeah,
really want to.
oh, it's really interesting.
The way
It's very entertaining and a little bit mad.
the way you described it once, it's really good. It sounds really
Yeah,
interesting.
it's quite unusual, but it is good. Anyway, so check it out if you want. But the yeah, the sort of the lack of menace of any kind, the lack of danger of any kind. The most dangerous characters in this film are Mr. Wint and Mr. Kidd,
Yeah,
played
played
by Bruce
and
Glover and Potter Smith.
who because it's sort of hinted at that these two characters are lovers, and apparently during the
Hinted
making,
at. It's like they whack you over the head with it again and again.
yeah, and I think it's funny because like Bruce Glover. They gave the impression that to Sean Connery that they both were actually lovers while they were making the movie, and they were able to convince Sean Connery of that. And it wasn't until a few years later when Bruce Glover was on a plane and he was flirting with a flight attendant, and then behind him he just hears "You son of a bitch," this Scottish accent voice, and then it turned out to be Sean Connery.
I mean, no one really comes out well from that story. I think like Sean Connery's sort of homophobia, and then the fact that Bruce Glover was flirting with a flight attendant. I think everyone kind of needs to, look at themselves in that situation. But and also like, what's to stop a gay man flirting with a flight attendant? So but they're wonderful. It's a fun idea to have these two meek-looking white male assassins, especially in a franchise that so far has done already quite a lot of like, has used quite a lot of like racist tropes with henchmen. And it's good that they're not like some tall German blonde guy. It's like they're a completely new thing, and I really like that. And they kill people in ways that are incredibly enjoyable. The scorpion, the exploding helicopter,
The cake.
the cake. I mean, that's the bomber surprise. That sequence is so stupid.
And he like straps the bomb on him. And
And that bit where he like pulls his arms through his legs and he goes like, ooh.
It's
That
quite.
bit is so fucking silly. Um,
Yeah.
so, but they are fun. I think there's also the one of the great last kind of Connery being really like Bond like is the fight with uh Franks in the lift in Amsterdam.
Yeah, it had a bit of a Hitchcock edge to it in some ways for some reason.
Um, maybe.
A little bit.
I don't know. What do you mean
No, it had that kind of feeling that from Russia with Love. It had that same feeling of the fight in the train.
with Grant?
Yeah, with
Yeah,
Grant. It had
I
that.
I don't
It
know that
had, there
like
was
Hitchcock's.
the intensity was there.
Yeah, I'm not sure that like I would say necessarily it's a sort of Hitchcock thing. I think but it is very like Bondy to have a fight in an enclosed space that's quite like brutal.
Yeah.
It's something that's been carried right through to the Craig years.
Mm.
But like, um, it just there are these moments in this film, but it doesn't really hang together ultimately, and it's because I think so often they just go far too far in the camp direction. There's one of the great in the Amsterdam sequence as well. One of the great lines of the Bond franchise, which is that's a wonderful little nothing that you're almost wearing, to Jill St. John. What do you
Yeah.
think about Jill St. John? I think a
Um,
little bit too much. She
Mixed.
feels like she's in the wrong.
I think she starts off as like quite an interesting character, but then all the sort of personality of her that she has in the beginning scene is taken away when she's on the oil rig and she fires a machine gun and then falls off. It's a bit like it's quite close to Brick Eklund's Good Night a little bit.
Yeah, it's
And
in the sort of any kind of, yeah, exactly, any agency, any kind of sophistication or motive that she might have at the beginning. By the end, she's just a complete foil, and they're hiding the secret tape in her bikini bottom, and she's, yeah, as you say,
what
like
nice
falling off
cheeks.
the oil rig. Yeah, I mean, it's just,
Yeah,
um,
but a bit
but
about Jill St. John because I didn't really know about this, but apparently she had relationships with a lot of people. One of
oh,
which was Sean Connery. Uh,
oh,
some some of them were Michael Caine, Sean Connery, Robert Evans, Glenn Ford, David Frost, Henry
oh,
Kissinger, Sandy
hello.
Koufax, George Lazenby, Trini Lopez, Tom Mankiewicz, George Montgomery, Jack Nicholson, Roman
What?
Polanski, Alejandro Rey, Tom Selleck, Frank Sinatra, Robert Vaughn, and Adam West.
Wow,
And
that is quite a collection.
and during the making of this film, she quarreled a lot with Lana Wood, mainly because both of them were trying to. Well, I think Sean Connery didn't help because he was involved with both of them, but mainly,
Oh my god, what a mess.
yeah, but also the fact that, well, Lana Wood is the sister of Natalie Wood, and Jill St. John married Robert Wagner, and she still is married to him. And if
Oh my
most,
god.
and if some people are, familiar with the Natalie Wood story, there are a lot of sort of conspiracy theories that maybe Robert Wagner had something to do with that, and Lana Wood is one of those people who actually feels that he did something. And there was like a
Something to do with Natalie Wood's death.
yeah with Natalie Wood's death, and there was actually there was a couple occasions where they've been feuding for half a century now, and one of them
Jesus Christ.
one of them was in September 1999 when Jill St. John refused to be photographed with Lana Wood at a Bond girl reunion for Vanity Fair, and then another one was when Wood crashed an event honoring Jill St. John in Palm Springs and confronted Wagner over the reopened death case of her sister. And apparently, Lana Wood said that a woman called to her, and she didn't say who it was, but she could tell that she felt like it was Jill St. John being like, "Back away from Robert Wagner, or you'll be sorry," kind of thing.
Weird. Very weird.
Yeah.
I did not know that was that much involved in the in that particular story. But that's that's Hollywood for you.
Yep. Sure is.
But yeah, Lana Wood is, she doesn't get the best part. I guess
Well,
is
I
fair
mean,
to say.
she got quite a lot of. I mean, she had to wear like something that was very quite revealing, and then during when she's thrown into a pool, a lot of she was like everybody was just like ho ho like that, like everyone was just
Oh my
ogling her
god.
and
Oh my
stuff like
goodness.
that. And there were, I think they had to sort of cut around like the dress that she was wearing when she gets pulled out because a lot of it was quite revealing and stuff. There's a lot of accidental nudity in this movie if you pay attention.
Oh well, I'm sure there are a lot of people do. I'm sure
Yeah,
there's a
and
lot
also I
of
think, I mean, just spoiler alert a little bit, because Lana Wood's Tiffany O'Toole is killed.
plenty O'Toole.
Plenty O'Toole, sorry, Plenty O'Toole
That's
is
the whole point of the name.
Plenty O'Toole is killed, and she's found drowned in a pool. And there's actually a scene where she goes back up to the hotel room where Jill St. John's character is with Sean Connery, and she comes back to pick up her things, and she sees that they're having sex or whatever, and then she gets like the address for where Jill St. John lives in Las Vegas. So she was killed because of mistaken identity. I don't know why they never cut that scene out, because it explains why Lana Woods.
They didn't. They did cut it out.
They
I don't
did cut
remember
it
that
out of the
scene.
film. I don't know why they didn't keep it in, because it would have explained why she was at the place in the pool and stuff. I don't know.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. Maybe because there was more accidental nudity that they had to
Probably. Yeah.
get rid of. You could see my anus. I don't. Yeah, there is probably like a whole. This film feels very horny. There's a lot of material for professional wankers to watch for in this. I mean, if there's it does feel like there's a lot of like almost sort of carry on levels of like kind of around cleavage and bottoms and whatever else.
Yeah.
It's just it's amazing that like the grossness of the culture on set. I didn't really know that level of like discomfort had been felt by Lana Wood, but I'm not surprised.
She was also
And
very
it is
young,
it's
young
pretty
at the time.
dismaying that like even that while making a film that's this sort of inherently misogynist as the Bond franchise, that there isn't some kind of like concession to the actress's offset being like, well, we're just making a movie, but we're not actually like this kind of thing. They're just like doubling down on it. So whatever. The Vegas and Bond does not feel like a match made in heaven, although you do get a pretty fun car chase, although it's way more in the Roger Moore kind of car chase era than in
the I mean, I don't know why, but it feels a bit like out of Blues Brothers or something. I don't know why.
Well, like a Rat Pack film, it has
does.
that, and I think the bit where it goes sideways is a little bit similar to the corkscrew river jump in Man with the Golden Gun. It's nice to see Bruce Cabot in this film, one of his last.
Yeah, it was his final film as Bert.
Oh,
Saxby.
really? It is his final film.
It was his, as Bert Saxby. And,
Bert Saxby.
And I do like, what's his name, who plays...
Jimmy Dean?
Yeah, no, not... Yeah, it's Jimmy Dean. Yeah, who plays Willard White, who is Lucy.
I cannot see... If someone shows me a map which has Baja, California on it, I cannot see that without going, Baja!
Yeah, I know. It's just... It's like
every time I see that, I'll just go, Baja!
It's just the way he says...
I don't have anything in Baja!
It's like, it just sounds so made up the way he says it. But then when I saw... when someone like...
Yeah, I've never really dwelled... Before watching this, I never dwelled on Baja, California as like a funny word, but I cannot think of it or look at it, or if I ever visit Baja, I'll be saying it every fucking day.
It's like,
every time I see a sign.
It's like, where are you flying to? Baja.
Yeah. Welcome aboard this United Airlines flight to Baja. Baja.
I didn't know I was flying to Baja.
Baja.
Yeah, apparently he had.
You're in a field full of sheep, and one of them goes, Baja. I didn't know sheep said Baja.
I didn't know they said that. We could probably do hundreds of these, but anyway.
Let's not.
No, but so Willard White is a bit.
Tell him he's fired.
Yeah, he's a bit based on Howard Hughes, and I don't think Jimmy Dean was very comfortable playing the character because he was worried that Howard Hughes would be up in his like little house in like above his like penthouse, like peering down with his binoculars on him or something.
Well, I mean, I don't know how else. I mean, basically, he's a recluse who lives in a hotel, but in terms of behavior, I guess he could be like a young Howard Hughes. You get a pretty boring Felix Leiter in this film,
Yeah, he's
Norman
very
Burton.
boring. I don't know who's the actor. He's
Norman Burton.
Norman Burton. He is a bit Jason Alexander esque in some ways.
I do like the fact Mark Lawrence, not that one, the guy, one of the henchmen with that sort of really striking face, who's in a lot of
Yeah, he's the guy. He's the motel guy in From Dusk Till Dawn, and he was also in The Man with the Golden Gun. He's the guy, the assassin at the beginning of the movie.
right. He's in. Yeah, we talked about him. He's also one of the henchmen in Marathon Man, which is great.
He was in a
Yeah,
lot. He
like
was in a lot of movies. He was in tons of films.
oh yeah, just one of those like jobbing
Yeah,
actors. I mean,
and
but
also
it's good to see him.
one of the other actors who I'm a fan of was who's also one of the sort of cronies of the Slumber Inc. attendants is Sid Haig, like a beard a Sid Haig without his trademark beard.
Hmm. There's a moon buggy chase. That's pretty stupid.
A little bit, yeah.
Does this film imply that the moon landing was faked?
I guess it's trying to point that out. Yeah, they would have. I think they would have. I think if it, they could have made it. They probably would have made it more obvious if they had someone come out looking like Stanley Kubrick or something like that. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
If you believe in conspiracy theories.
It's there's a whole film about The Shining as Kubrick's attempt to reveal that the moon landing was faked, isn't there?
Yeah, it's discussed in the Room 237 documentary, and I think
Oh, so it's part of a wider documentary.
yeah,
Okay.
or I think they actually. I mean, they might have done a documentary about it. I don't know, but they do discuss it in that documentary. But they discuss a lot of theories and stuff, which some of it makes sense and some of it's just like really. But yeah, interesting film. But yeah,
Anyway, so I mean, Diamonds Are Forever it is pretty pants ultimately.
yeah, and also the whole like laser in space with diamonds. I don't. It doesn't make sense.
There is a great bit though where Blofeld talks about we could blow up Kansas and no one would find out about it for years, which is pretty funny. I mean, the Diamonds space laser. This is the first space laser, but there are going to be many, many more.
Yeah, including I Bring You Icarus from Die Another Day.
Right. Which is literally the same
thing.
Like it's crazy that they, of all the, as we said before, of all the Bond films to recycle, why do Diamonds Are Forever? Speaking of which, this, along with Moonraker and Octopussy, seem to be the Bond films that are always on TV.
Yeah, they always seem to be rerun. It's crazy.
I think there's these certain Bond films which are always on television, and I have no idea why. They always seem to be available for free on Amazon Prime. They always maybe it's just because they're shit and no one cares about.
No one wants to buy them.
Right, I don't know, but like Diamonds Are Forever. Anytime you're sitting in front of a TV set, just scroll through the channels and you'll find Diamonds Are Forever.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess we've said what we need to say about the film.
I will say this: it did give one of the great things that's spoofed in Austin Powers, and that's the 10 minutes and counting guy who just.
Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah, they did they brought back the same actor, didn't they, for the Austin Powers
Yeah,
movie?
I think they did. They just did the same voice. But I think it's just the whole building is like the whole oil rig is like falling apart, and then he's just like 5 minutes.
He's still saying that.
Yeah. Also, I think Blofeld's death, in inverted commas, is very poor. I think it's very, it's very impersonal. Even if it it's a sequel from like On Her Majesty's Secret Service, like have that like pay off. Have it a bit more.
No, it's so unsatisfying. And then because it's not really clear if he dies or not, although it's like, how is he going to survive that? I don't know. That feels very unsatisfying, as you say. I think, and then of course we've talked about For Your Eyes Only and the attempt to finally kill Blofeld off, and we've talked about Spectre, and it really feels like this film, you could quite happily take it out of the franchise and just go straight from On Her Majesty's Secret Service to Live and Let Die, and it wouldn't matter. It sounds harsh, but that's just the way it is. Do you want to do our little fun features?
Yeah. What's your favorite location? Where would you want to go?
Amsterdam.
Yeah, I was going to say that as well. Or Las Vegas, just to see what it's
Well,
like.
you have to pick a different one. Are you not going to pick Baja?
Yeah, Baja. I want to go to Baja.
Baja.
Yeah.
I've never been to Baja.
So yeah, who would you replace with someone else?
Baja. Replace Baja. I need to calm down. Who would I replace? Bond. I would replace him with Frank Sinatra because you may as well, if you're making a Rat Pack movie, you may as well just have James Bond played by Frank Sinatra and have Blofeld played by Dean Martin and have Jill St. John be like
Angie Dickinson.
what's her name? Anne Margaret, and then have like Sammy Davis Jr. as Willard White. Yeah. The joke is he's not actually white. Haha.
Jesus.
That's what they would have. That's the joke they would have made.
Yeah, I watched the original Ocean's 11, and there is a lot of just racism just casually thrown around.
Right, that was the whole punchline. Every time they did a Rat Pack thing, the whole joke is like they're just horrible to Sammy Davis. Like I don't understand how you put up with it.
Yeah, it's like there's a scene where they're putting stuff on their face, and they say like, "Sammy Davis, do you want some?" And it's like, "Oh my god." It's like
Jesus Christ.
Racist. Yeah, I don't know. I think I mean, I would probably replace Jill St. John, and I probably would have hired a different screenwriter to maybe make that character a little bit more interesting and give her a little bit more personality. I would probably replace it with someone like Angie Dickinson, who was pretty popular at the time. I think, and I like her.
Oh, Angie Dickinson would have done great with that character. Yeah, that's a good shout. What is
stupidest bit?
Stupidest bit. Okay, well, do you want to go first?
Stupidest bit for me, I think, is the moon buggy chase.
I'm tempted to say Blofeld and Drag. There is so many stupid bits in this film, but I'm just going to go with one that happens quite early in the film because it sets the tone for everything that comes afterwards. And it's the guy in the fez at the table who says, "Hit me," and then someone hits him.
Yeah, that's true.
One of the you see it coming a mile off, and it is the stupidest joke. And yeah, so I mean, you could take your pick of it. There's also the bit where he kills quote unquote Blofeld by putting him in the gunge. Also, the whole idea of there being all these Blofeld clones, we haven't even talked about how stupid that is.
That was also a stupid plot point, and also the whole bit was like, right idea.
They all have the same personality, and it's like, how many?
Right idea, Mr. Bond, but wrong pussy.
Oh, that wrong pussy. Oh, Jesus, yes. There actually, you know what? This film, it's bad, isn't it?
Yeah.
I tried to be positive about it at the start of this podcast, but no, it's just a bad movie.
It's also just not really fun. That's the thing. I mean,
there's something sad about it. It's like Vegas. I imagine. Well, I've not been to Vegas, but I imagine Vegas is like this. You get there and you're like, "Oh, this is so cool! Lights and prostitutes and gambling." And then the next day you're just like, "I want to go home."
Yeah, I know exactly.
I want to go back to Baja
or North Dakota.
What's that?
It's when he says like a place just blew up in North Dakota when he's talking about one of his businesses that blew up or something.
Oh, right.
I can't remember the line exactly, so I fumbled it a little bit, but just the way he says North Dakota.
North Dakota. What's the best bit of this film?
Best bit of this film.
For me, it's the elevator fight.
Yeah, I was going to say the elevator fight as well. And I also think the scene where he's almost burnt alive in the coffin, I think is quite a good sequence.
Oh, yeah. How does he get out of that again?
Oh, he gets dragged out by Shady Tree.
Oh. Right. So he doesn't actually save himself. Yeah, that is pretty scary and claustrophobic.
Yeah, he was played. Shady Tree was played by Leonard Barr, who was a comedian. He was the uncle of Dean Martin.
This film is just covered in like rat packery. Okay, well, so give it a rating.
I'm gonna give it 2 stars or 2.5 if I was being very generous. I just think there's a lot of things about this
stars.
Film. What?
Stars?
Oh, martini. Sorry.
Yeah.
2.5 martinis.
I'm giving it 1.5 martinis. Just under 2. The second martini's someone's taken a sip of it.
Yeah,
the olive
is rotten. I think there's a lot of things about this film that just didn't really. It wasn't a great return for Bond, and I don't really like the show.
Connery, you mean?
Yeah, for Connery. Yeah, sorry. And also, I don't really think it was. It doesn't have a great song. The Shirley Bassey song, I don't think is that good. It out of the.
Oh, I disagree. I think the song is good.
It's a bit too.
I
It
think the song is one of the better things about the film.
just has too many innuendos. I don't know. It's just a little.
Oh, come on! It's a Bond song. It's Shirley Bassey. It's fun.
Yeah. Did you ever listen to the song that she wrote for Quantum of Solace, but they didn't choose it?
Did you send it to me?
I'll send it to you. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't do that yet. Quantum of Solace. Diamonds Are Forever, and sampled, of course, famously by the now insane Kanye West.
Jesus Christ, that guy! I'm just
I
like
mean, Jesus Christ.
what? Well, he
I mean,
thinks he's Jesus but he's not.
I don't know what he thinks. He needs help. Let's
And
not.
he's certainly not
Though,
getting it from
let's not
his
tease.
wife.
Let's not tease people who are having mental health issues.
Yes.
Okay, so Diamonds Are Forever. Let's be honest. I'm looking forward to the next six
Yes.
movies to discuss because they are all. This is now when we're like finally putting the more and the Connery, all the campness and the silliness and the Rat Packness and all this stupidity behind us, and we're going into what I think is the golden age
Yes.
of the Bond
The
franchise.
60s. We're going right into the 60s now, which is just great.
Yeah. 60s. Okay,
Introduced.
let's get out of here.
Yes.